Don't let the crying and the soften you. You got to be firm with them, because if you're not firm with them, somebody else is going to be firm with them.
It's time to exhale and be motivated. Annie's Blue Couch. Yeah. Hello, everyone, to all of you, Annie's crew. Welcome back to the Annie's Blue Couch. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today. Now, before we get into today's conversation, I want to remind you to please like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and as always, please do me a huge favor and share this video with at least 2 of your friends. Recently, we've been overwhelmed with talk of COVID and quarantine and vaccines and health, both physical and mental. And we're all still learning how to cope with our new normal. Our homes have become everything. We work from home. We Zoom our doctors from home. We go to concerts and comedy shows from home. For some of us, the gym is now at home. We go to church from home, and school is now at home. As a mom of 3, having my children constantly in my face has prompted today's conversation: parenting, old school versus new school. Given my age, I think I automatically fall in the new school category. For today's conversation, I've invited a special guest to represent the old school. Annie's crew, please welcome my mom.
Hi, Annie's crew.
So, Mom, I invited you today because I know sometimes we have different points of view when it comes to raising the kids. We talk a lot about those differences, and I wanted to bring the conversation to this platform because I believe it will help other moms.
Yeah.
So I want to start with a question for you.
Okay.
In your opinion, what do you think is most lacking in kids today?
If I had to answer that in one word, I would definitely say training. Training. Training starts from small. You have to start them from literally from the time they start to creep. It's a training thing. It's not just one day. It's today, it's tomorrow, it's the next day and the next day till they get it. You just have to keep on top of them.
I think that, because you tell me that all the time, that's exhausting.
Yes, it's exhausting, but I think there is a joy and there's a satisfaction when you see your kids, they're doing well. You could take them out. You're not as scared that they'll embarrass you, because you've trained them to listen to you. You've trained them how to behave when they're in house and out house.
So because you said this is the thing that you think is the biggest
yes.
situation. So when you're looking at kids today, you're seeing them and you're like, oh my God, that kid has no training.
Yeah, and the thing about kids is that, in as much as I'm talking so strictly about training, kids they're sporadic, and sometimes something may come out, because we don't want them to be as though they are in the army, and like they're so regimented. We still want them to be free. We still want them to enjoy life, enjoy their childhood. But
because I feel like old school parenting, when they see the kids of today who have a voice, who can answer back, and I don't necessarily see it as answering back. And I feel like it's like, if I was raising that kid, or if that kid grew up when we grew up, they wouldn't be talking back.
Yeah, because you see, I think old school, we definitely had that respect. Kids were taught to respect their elders.
Wait, though, but I think that old school respect was one-sided.
And I kind of disagree, because I feel as though, now if we're talking as simple as, we taught our kids to say good morning, the pleasantries of the day. And if a child should walk up to me and say good morning, I would answer them. It's not like they're being respectful to me and I just, wouldn't respond or be negative to them. I would answer them.
Okay, that's if the kid said good morning.
Okay.
What about you saying good morning first? Why is it that old school parenting, when you walk into a room and a child doesn't acknowledge you, that the child is in the one that's disrespectful for not saying good morning or whatever, and it's like, excuse me, you didn't see me? You didn't see me? Why old school? Why does it have to be that way?
No, and I have a little problem with that because I feel as though it's a kind of who is there first. If you was sitting in that kitchen and your child comes in, they should tell you good morning.
Okay.
But and as the parent, if the child is there and the parent comes in, they're obligated to say good morning or to say hello, to acknowledge.
Okay, well, I could get down with that.
Yeah,
I could get down with
and
that.
that's how it is. That's
I
pretty
think
much how it
that
is.
a lot of what I see is it is one-sided, and I feel like even things when we talk about respect and raising the child, and let's say dinner time, right? I feel like children today can say, I don't want to eat this. But old school parents are like, what do you mean you don't want to eat that? This is all you're going to eat. Either eat this or you go to bed hungry.
You see, that kind of is. I do have a little pet peeve with that because, okay, so fair enough. Old school, maybe we didn't have as much as you guys have now. So you find our parents would cook, and that's what we had to eat. There wasn't much of a choice, and in one way that might be good or bad. My thing with the kids these days, they have so much of a choice that they literally stress out the parents. Could you imagine having 5 kids? One want hot dogs, one want burgers, one wants spaghetti, and when will it end?
Yeah.
But if you train them to say, okay, you know what, guys, tonight we having spaghetti. That's just what it is. Now, again, I'm not the one to say, I know there were times when it's like, sit and eat. You can't leave this table until you eat it. I'm not too much into that because I look at it, if I don't like something, I wouldn't like to be forced to eat it. But so you kind of your children. You have them from small. You know what they like, what they don't like, and you just make dinner time a good time. But please don't stress it out that you have to make 5 dinners. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I can understand that. I think the other part of respect that is like kids having an opinion. I think sometimes I see you when I say something in the house and then somebody comes back and says something and you do one of those
Yeah.
which is like, I'm gonna bite my
Yeah.
tongue, I'm gonna hold this in right now, because if it was me, you couldn't say that.
Yeah. Okay, so having an opinion. I am not saying that children shouldn't have an opinion. I'm not saying they shouldn't voice how they feel, but I think too sometimes the tone that they use. I feel in as much as you could say how you feel, but still know who is in charge here. You're not telling me what to do, or you're so opposed with it that you're doing it with an attitude. The attitude thing is a no with me.
So when I was like Allie, Rovo's, Ammy's age, like looking back, I don't feel like, I feel like you like the OG gangster of parenting today. But growing up, I didn't feel like I had a gangster mom.
And I don't think I was. I think for me, I've always said it, and I think home is the happy place. You love your children, and in loving them, you have to correct them. You can't just say you love them and let them run amok. That's because, again, at the end of the day, you train them, and you're not just training them for yourself.
Yeah.
You're literally training them for society.
Yeah.
You don't want to now let loose a bunch of kids that's wild out there. They don't know how to behave. They don't know how to respect people. They have bad attitudes. So in training and raising them right, you are preparing them to meet the public. You're preparing them to be responsible adults.
Yeah, yeah. I understand that. I think some of the other big things in terms of respect and old school versus new school is the consequence of lack of respect. And I think that in general, you always say it, I'm like the extreme. I take everything like all the way left, and I really don't remember like beating. I don't remember, getting like, I hear some old school, I'm gonna get the switch or get a branch from outside. Or growing up in the West Indies, a lot of my West Indian friends have that kind of a thing to say about the way that they were raised. And even, so like I didn't experience that. I didn't experience getting beating, but sometimes now I do a lot of talking, and you'll say just one good slap.
You rightly said, the old, maybe even the ones older than me, the beating would turn into abuse. And somehow that's when we talk about the old school beating, we think about that abusiveness. I'm not in for that.
And a lot of old school people don't think that was abuse.
Exactly.
They think that was necessary.
That too. But I do feel kids, they need to feel a little burn on their skin. You can't just keep saying,
burn!
You can't just keep saying, oh, Jimmy, stop doing that. Stop. And you could even get louder. But I feel as though they're not feeling the consequences of doing that thing. But if you give them a slap, ring the ears, do something, you're not killing them. But you're letting them feel that if they do that thing again, that's what's going to happen. Maybe your thing might be a slipper. So you give them a few slaps with that slipper. The next time you just pick that slipper up and they straight, because they know what that slipper is going to do.
But I feel like, especially, like, we have so much more information now.
Yeah, I know.
There's so much
knowledge.
And like psychology and
Yeah.
the psychology of children. And there are so many people on TV and books, whatever.
Yeah.
Even in the school, they're teaching the children nobody should put their hands on you. And I feel like the new school idea of parenting is that this child is a person.
Yeah.
And if I did something wrong, I wouldn't want somebody to hit me.
Yeah.
So why do we have, like, can't we just talk?
Yeah.
Or punish by like taking away something? I don't know, because I think when I think about it, I'm not sure that I am as effective by removing these kind of physical punishments, because like in my case, I'm grateful that they have a dad that's like present in their lives, and he's definitely in the old school category. And I think that it has become I see that it's a little bit more effective to have, it's not abuse, but to have that kind of an impact. But for me, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to do that.
But what I think too is some children respond differently. I'm sure you could agree to that.
Right.
Some kids, yes, you could shout at them and they're good. Some, again, you could shout till your liver comes out and nothing happens. So I think for those, you may have to keep that slipper, that spoon, whatever works for you. You may have to do that. But I do, and even the Bible says, I mean, I know some people may, the reason why I bring that in is because I hear you talk about books and psychology and things like that. But I believe what the Bible says. It says, don't spare the rod and spoil the child. It also, there's a scripture that talks about, don't get softened by his tears.
Wow.
That's the gist of it. Don't let the crying and the, soften you. You got to be firm with them. If you're not firm with them, somebody else is going to be firm with them.
I feel impacted by their tears. I feel
Yeah.
like they're little people, and when I hit somebody and they start crying, or
Yeah.
I'm just like, it breaks me, and I feel like I feel like all levels of it can't fall into that abuse category, even though I know, like, deep down it's effective, and I see
Yeah.
that it works.
Yeah.
I feel like growing up, you had that look.
Right.
We knew, like, if we were
I'm
sitting in
serious.
church or doing whatever, there was that look. I don't know that I have a look.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to know that. Yeah, and we heard it all the time. It's because, and I know, like, especially when they get older, you can't really do too much controlling, because it's like that tree. If the tree is old and hard, you can't really bend it. But if it's soft, it's now coming up, you're able to bend that tree and make, and it's not like you're trying to make them do what you want to do. It's just like I say, at the end of the day, it's preparing them, because I don't think any parent, the reason why we may give that pinch or we even yell, whichever, is because they're doing something wrong. You're not yelling and pinching and beating because they're doing great. It's because they're doing something wrong. So you're trying to, at the end of the day, you are preparing them to fit in to society.
When you talk about fitting into society, I feel like society has changed a lot from the old school time versus the new school time. And I think there are so many options in terms of what you want to cultivate and train your child into.
Okay.
And for me, sometimes I feel like the old school parenting is do what I say, become what I want you to become. And especially for me, because I'm such a creative, I'm such like an artsy, big dream kind of a person, that how do we balance the let them be free, let them be creative, but school is still important. But like, I might want them to be a doctor, but they want to be the next YouTube sensation.
And I think all that is fine, because I do agree to let them be independent, be able to think for themselves. But I just think let's not get confused with the child and maybe young adult. Because
Okay.
for example, I believe, well, let's say toddler to about 5 years old. You have to tell that child what to do. You tell them what to do. What does a 3-year-old know to, what could a 3-year-old really tell me to do?
And
You have to give them that. Yes, you're allowing them to grow, you're allowing them to mature, but you have to really be that voice in their life, speaking to them, telling them, okay, honey, Jimmy, this is not what you do. You don't urinate on the floor. You have a bathroom to go to. You don't just let them do what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
Then maybe at another age, I was reading this book, and it said, like, that teenage time is when you're really teaching them. You're really teaching them. You're not just telling them what to do. Oh, go here, sit there. But you're teaching them. They could give you some feedback, and then as they get to that late teen, you let them go. Now you're able to trust them. Because you've already trained them, you've already taught them. Now you could trust them to go out there.
I think that's very deep.
You could
So,
trust them.
yeah, that's really good. When they're little,
You
we are
tell
telling
them,
them.
yes.
When they get to that middle adolescent teenage, that's when you're really teaching.
And the teaching, not to just to stick a pen in the teaching, this is the time I think you really have to be with them. You can't just say, oh, do it so. No, sit with them, stand with them, even as simple as maybe washing the dishes. You stay with them, be that parent, which, and I would also say be a friend. I know that could be another conversation, but you're with them in it. You're teaching them you're almost making it fun. Because you're teaching them, you're there with them, you see them make a little screw up, and you're there with them, teaching them, being in there with them.
I think that's really good, because, especially for me, because sometimes I take for granted how easy a task is for me.
Yeah.
And it's important to take that time to teach them, because if I ask somebody to wash the dishes and then I come back and there's food on the dishes, then
You go crazy.
I'm losing it,
Yeah.
because I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, how could you put this in the dishwasher as clean and it still has food on it?
Yeah.
So that kind of, I think that's good. That's good,
Yeah.
to really be with them, to teach them, and to make it fun. And I know you said it's another topic, but I think it's a good topic to talk about friends.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things, old school, me and you, we're not friends.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not one of your friends in school.
Yeah.
And I feel like new school, we kind of lean in a little bit more to that. And again, there's all kinds of spectrums there.
Yeah.
But I feel, for me, even though I'm Caribbean, and I know that a lot of that is in, it's
the
one of those,
culture.
it's in the culture. And I'm so far from that.
yeah.
I want to be their
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
And sometimes I feel like you step in to say,
Yeah.
but so can
Yeah.
you?
I think I kind of fall in the middle.
Okay.
Only because, and something you said a little earlier on, I do believe that kids are people,
Yeah.
and as parents, again, because of my Christian background, I do believe God has given us these children to train, to grow up, to nurture, to love. With respect to that friend thing, I do feel, in some instances, is how could I put this? I feel as though there are times when you need to be a friend. You could be a friend, and there are times when you have to be that parent, in the sense that, okay, you want to build that friendship because you want them to be able to come to you. You don't want them going out there getting advice from their little peers who don't know just as little as they do, or even from older people who may not be the best influence. You want to be the one that they could come to. So I do feel you have to build some kind of bond with them. You can't always be the one beating and yelling and screaming, so they know, oh no, mommy gonna be angry, or I can't come to her with this. So you have to balance it off. I feel so there are times when you have to be that strict parent and say no, regardless of what. No, you're not going. But then there are other times when you could be that friend and say, well, maybe we could do this, or just be that kind of person that they could come to.
And there's something that just came into my mind in terms of being their friend. And I think that old school, there is no such thing, especially, and it could be like you were saying before about the Christian aspect of it, that growing up in the church is a little bit different from somebody who didn't grow up in the church. But I feel like the old school parents, in terms of the church culture that we have been grown up in, are totally against opposite sex relationships, in terms of, like, you can't be 13 and having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. But new school, and it could be more so Christian versus non-Christian. But for me, as a Christian mom, I wouldn't say it's a non-Christian thing. How do you balance them with the relationship aspect of things, and not being so willy-nilly, you can do whatever you want, but then not being like totally against it because they're gonna have boyfriends and girlfriends?
Yeah, and I think that's where, again, having that cultivating your home to such a way where, like I said, home is that safe place. Home is that place to be comfortable. Maybe they could bring that person at home, rather than have to sneak behind the school lockers or in some park somewhere. They could feel, and again, a big thing, I like to talk to kids. I think talking to them, get involved in their lives, know who their friends are. I remember even with Roro, I know he had quite a few Owens. You remember?
Yeah.
God knows I don't know any of the Owens, but I know there were 3 Owens in his class coming along. You talk to them, find out who their friends are, and if possible, pick the friends up sometimes. Get to know their friends. I know the girlfriend boyfriend thing, especially now, like you were saying, they're so much more advanced than
Yeah.
we were.
Yeah.
Maybe at 13 we were still, playing with our hair and learning how to comb our hair and do little things. But now it's a whole new ball game. So this is why I think as modern day parents,
Yeah.
you guys have to be even sharper. You guys have to invent ways to be a part of their lives and to just be there for them. I mean,
Yeah.
they would you can't be there 24/7 or every time they go out, but that's where I think that bond comes in.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, keep talking to them. Let them know, look, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not just always yelling and upset with you. I really love you because
Yeah.
you're my child. I love you, and let me know what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and I hope that there are even some old school parenting, because what happens, the reason why I think the old and new have to come together is because you never stop being my mom.
Okay.
And maybe you can lighten up on the parenting part, or you choose to do that because I'm an adult now.
Right.
But you're still a grandparent. So there are some influences that you have to have
Yeah.
on my kids because you're grandparent. And sometimes they're like like grandma is strict, or Nana.
Yeah.
The kids call you Nana. Nana is tough, or so.
Yeah.
And I think, and then there are other parents that don't really get involved, and they kind of do everything opposite, and they're completely loose, and the grandparents completely disrespect
Disconnect
what the parents
yeah.
say and do.
Yeah.
And the kids know they can go to Nana, they can go to Pops or Grandpa and get whatever they want. How do we bridge parenting as it pertains to grandparents?
Okay, so regarding grandparents and for input into the lives of the children, I've always said, I've kind of drawn an imaginary line, because like I believe I heard you say it, I think now is your turn to be a parent to your children, that you could build memories with them. It's just fortunate or unfortunate that I live here with you, but I think this is your time. You have your 3 kids. This is the time to build memories, to build so that you could remember when we used to do this. And you don't always need me sticking in. So I have drawn an imaginary line to say, for me, there is only so far I am prepared to go. There are times when I want to go a little further, and those are the times I will do something like that, or I may just leave the room.
Yeah.
Because I think it is important for you to have your time.
Yeah.
I had my time. I was able to bring up my 2 children,
and we are wonderful.
What, as some would say, but so now it's your turn, and yes, I want to get involved. Now I am a grandmother, but I don't know that I want to be remembered as, again, always the one correcting,
right.
and even always the one looking back. Well, we used to do it this way, and we used to do it that way. I just as how I lived with you guys, I kind of want to be that grandmother that is have some fun. We have fun.
Yeah.
We go out. We do little things, and I think that's really what I would like to do. I think the heavy training, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. It's your turn. I had my turn. Now it's your turn. But at the same time, if you leave me with them, I just might bring out the slipper. But I love my grandchildren, and I want them to know that, and I want their childhood to be as fun as your childhood was,
Yeah.
and that's my contribution to them. I want them to have fun and live and be children.
Yeah, and I think that you do a really good job with that because there are things that I just don't want to do. I don't want to play in the snow. I I don't want to do it. And you will be like, "Come on, guys, let's go have a snowball fight." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I get to lay down and rest or something. So I think that's really good. I feel like there are so many, maybe not so many, but oftentimes there are negative connotations with the old school. And new school, it's hard to kind of bridge that gap. And I think that like I'm really blessed
Yeah.
to have a mom like you who understands, who's drawn that imaginary line
Yeah.
and everything like that. And I wanted this conversation to encourage the old school and the new school. I think there's so many things that I learned from you.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that new school parents, we can learn from the old school parenting, especially with the kids are home. They are home in our faces with this COVID and all of this stuff. And so it's really important that we have structure in place.
Yeah.
It's really important that we have rules, that we have guidelines, that we kind of lean into the old school a little bit for the parenting that's needed right now. And I do think that the old school can learn
Yeah.
some of what we're doing in terms of the freedom and acknowledging that children have rights and they can speak and they can within reason have respect, but not that they don't have an identity,
right.
or that
Yeah.
they're not allowed to have a feeling or to
Have
not
their
like a particular food,
personalities.
their
Yeah,
own personalities.
personalities,
Yeah. So I really hope that this conversation was helpful for you. I really hope that you were inspired by some of the old school, the new school, and that you can just go on to be the best parent that you can be. I think there's so much pressure today.
Yes.
With kids being people look at children and based on their behavior determine automatically whether they have a good mother or father.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and I
true.
think that
Sometimes,
is
could be a little rough.
It's very pressuring, but with the help of God, with the help of your community, the grandparents, the old school, the new school has got to come together so that the children of today can be the children that they need, can be the adults for the future.
Yeah.
So just remember, you are beautiful, you are special, your smile is amazing, and don't let anyone or anything ever make you feel less than who and what God has designed you to be. Annie's Crew, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Bye for now.
Bye.
Annie's Blue Couch.